It's time for my favorite story segue. Hey, this is kind of a weird thing. Donald and Melania Trump, in the spirit of Christmas, spoke to kids on the phone about where Santa is on his gift delivery trip. Okay, fine, whatever. It's a Christmas tradition of some kind for the president, I guess. So clearly, the kids that they're speaking to, I guess, believe in Santa. So Trump gets on the phone with a 7-year-old kid named Coleman and says to the kid that belief in Santa at age 7 is marginal. Now, if the kid believes in Santa, this isn't really a conversation to have with the kid, right? Take a listen to this video.
Well, that's really good. And you just have a good time. Are you still a believer in Santa? Because at 7 it's marginal, right? Well, you just enjoy yourself.
We just spoke on the bonus show last week, Pat, about belief in Santa. And I explained I never believed in Santa. Being Jewish, when I was growing up, there was never a situation where I thought Santa was real. And I don't really have a recollection about when my classmates realized that Santa wasn't real. I know that my sister, who's half Jewish, stopped believing in Santa on her own around 7 or 8. But it doesn't seem like it's the president who should be telling kids that there's no Santa on calls arranged to tell kids where Santa is. Like, doesn't something about this seem weirdly Grinch-like?
Yeah, I found out that Santa wasn't real pretty early on. Like I was 6 or 7 years old, and I immediately told all my friends because I just could not contain myself. That's something that's acceptable if you're only 6 or 7 years old and you can't really weigh the consequences of your actions. But if you're like 72, I think you should know better.
If I found out that my kid at school was going around telling other kids that there was no Santa, I'd probably tell the teacher, I don't really see a problem. I'm not going to tell my kids to lie. But if you're president and you're talking to kids about Santa, this doesn't seem like what you should be doing. And I mentioned this to you, number one, because it's been Christmas and we're doing something a little more lighthearted, even though it again shows that Trump is capable of screwing up even the smallest things. I was thinking of the Santa thing sort of like swearing. Like, I don't swear much, but I don't think swearing's a big deal. And in Argentina, where I was born, swearing on TV is just really not a huge deal. Swearing at school or at home, you don't do it excessively, but it's just not a big deal. If my kid's teacher called and said, your son or daughter is swearing in school, I would say, I really don't see that as a problem, but I would explain it can be disruptive. You should pare down the swearing. But in and of itself, I don't see swearing as a big deal. But it would be really weird if the president called my 7-year-old kid and was swearing up a storm on the phone. That I would find to be just a little bit strange. In the same manner, it's strange for Trump to have scheduled calls with kids to talk about Santa and talk about belief in Santa being marginal with a 7-year-old. And for anyone who is comfortable with Trump winging it in meetings with foreign leaders, this is what happens when Trump wings it, okay? He's told he's going to make calls to kids about Santa, and nobody says, by the way, these kids think Santa is real. Maybe as the president, you shouldn't allude to Santa not being real. Trump decided to wing it, and this is what happens. Just imagine what is happening in Singapore when Trump wings it with Kim Jong-un, or at the G20 or at the UN when the entire crowd starts laughing at Trump because he says such silly things. We don't want Trump winging things because he's able to screw up even the most minor presidential appearances.